Welcome back to the Real Story channel. Are you ready to embark on an extraordinary journey of love, sacrifice, and redemption? Imagine a cursed princess, a wrestling tournament that shatters her dignity, and a chance encounter that ignites a forbidden love. Now, picture a choice that could change the course of their lives forever. Will Princess Adanne embrace her duty and marry the prince, leaving her beloved Odor behind? Or will she follow her heart, defying all odds? In a world where appearances can be deceiving and the power of love knows no bounds, join us as we delve into the captivating tale of Princess Adanne and her quest for happiness. Let's go. I am getting married to the prince, and there is no possibility of anyone interfering. The reward is sufficient for you to start a new life or marry one of my sisters, my beloved Odor. This is a tremendous opportunity for me. Princess Adanne felt deeply humiliated after hosting a wrestling tournament where she was embarrassed. The participants shook their heads and walked away, causing her to avoid them. The villagers who watched the tournament also left, whispering about her body odor and holding their noses in disgust. Odor approached her purposefully, his face showing concern and sadness for her distress. Adanne apologized for her actions, and Odor comforted her by embracing her and expressing forgiveness. He professed his love for her and stated that he didn't care about her father's wealth or heritage, all he wanted was her. Odor whispered for Adanne to come away with him, and she took his hand as they walked home. They agreed to meet the next day. Odor left the village that night, and Princess Adanne felt uneasy as she rested in her chambers. She replayed the humiliation she experienced at the wrestling tournament, with the crowd turning against her due to her severe body odor. Adanne remembered their taunts, pointing fingers, disgusted scowls, and how they shrank away in revulsion. She was crushed by the experience, despite her efforts to be beautiful and desirable. However, the memory of Odor rushing to embrace her and provide comfort brought some solace. Adanne resolved to uncover the cause of her curse and decided to speak with her father, King Chuck, who might possess knowledge about it. She went to her father's chambers, disturbed by the late hour but desperate for answers. The king welcomed her and expressed his own distress over the day's events. Adanne asked about the curse and why she had been afflicted with such a foul odor since childhood. The king explained that there was a painful story from her childhood that she needed to hear, revealing the events that shaped her sorrows. When she was 7, her mother, the queen, took her to the village, where they encountered a beggar woman and her daughter. The beggar woman pleaded for help, and Adanne, being a young and innocent girl, didn't fully grasp their plight. The king explained that this encounter had consequences for Adanne's curse. She hurriedly approached and knelt in front of you, pleading as the noble queen and your lovely young princess. She explained that she and her daughter were extremely poor and hungry, having gone without food for nearly 5 days. She requested coins or even scraps of bread to prevent them from starving. At that moment, the beggar girl, who was with her, was captivated by the sight of you, a beautiful princess, and ran towards you, embracing you. You, however, were startled by the sudden embrace from a dirty, unfamiliar child, and in your panic, you pushed her away because her ragged clothes touched your fine silk dress. Your royal hands pushed the little girl to the ground, and as she looked up at you with teary eyes, you said cruel and hurtful things that she couldn't forget. You called her names, expressing your disgust, and even hit her on her face. You also spat at the poor woman who was still kneeling before your mother, seeking help. In an attempt to escape a situation you couldn't understand, you grabbed your mother's arm and pulled her back to the palace gates without looking back. The shame and regret you feel for not being there that day to guide you both on how royalty should show compassion for their people still haunts you. Meanwhile, on her knees in the dirt, the broken beggar woman cried out in pain, a sound that still echoes in your troubled dreams. Tears filled her eyes as the distressed little girl held onto her mother tightly, even as you walked away. The beggar woman looked up to the sky and cursed you, saying that from that day forward, you would be cursed. She hurriedly approached and knelt in front of you, pleading as the noble queen and your lovely young princess. She explained that she and her daughter were extremely poor and hungry, having gone without food for nearly 5 days. She requested coins or even scraps of bread to prevent them from starving. At that moment, the beggar girl, who was with her, was captivated by the sight of you, a beautiful princess, and ran towards you, embracing you. You, however, were startled by the sudden embrace from a dirty, unfamiliar child, and in your panic, you pushed her away because her ragged clothes touched your fine silk dress. Your royal hands pushed the little girl to the ground, and as she looked up at you with teary eyes, you said cruel and hurtful things that she couldn't forget. You called her names, expressing your disgust, and even hit her on her face. You also spat at the poor woman who was still kneeling before your mother, seeking help. In an attempt to escape a situation you couldn't understand, you grabbed your mother's arm and pulled her back to the palace gates without looking back. The shame and regret you feel for not being there that day to guide you both on how royalty should show compassion for their people still haunts you. Meanwhile, on her knees in the dirt, the broken beggar woman cried out in pain, a sound that still echoes in your troubled dreams. Tears filled her eyes as the distressed little girl held onto her mother tightly, even as you walked away. The beggar woman looked up to the sky and cursed you, saying that from that day forward, you would be cursed with the worst imaginable body odor. She proclaimed that no one would want to be near you, and that the kingdom, which once adored you as its darling princess, would turn against you. People would mock and make fun of you, and you would feel embarrassed and alone until your last breath. As she spoke, the beggar woman seemed to transform, standing tall and revealing herself as Isamba, the respected goddess of your ancestors. She explained that she had come in disguise to test your kindness as a royal, but you had failed to show compassion. Thus, the heavens decided to curse you forever. With those words, lightning flashed, thunder boomed, and the beggar woman and her daughter vanished in the wind. At the same time, you fell to the ground unconscious from the curse. The guards carried you back to the palace, and the kingdom's priests, healers, magicians, and doctors were summoned to try to save you. Despite their efforts, nothing could alleviate the curse's effects. You woke up after 3 days of continuous care, but your awakening brought shock and sadness due to the unbearable smell emanating from your body. It was discovered that the beggar woman was actually a goddess, and her curse had left you with the worst imaginable body odor for the rest of your life. Despite countless remedies and attempts to calm the angry spirit of Isamba, nothing could improve your condition. You suffered in isolated loneliness, as the people's love for their once beloved princess turned into disgust, neglect, mockery, and even cruelty. It was a painful transformation caused by a single thoughtless act. Since then, both you and your father grieve over the passing years. The regret feels as fresh as the day the beggar goddess cursed you. Your father laments that he should have spent more time teaching you about compassion, as it must be learned early in life. The painful lesson has come too late and at a high cost for both of you. However, he holds on to hope that in the future, you may find a chance to learn and grow from your suffering, and perhaps even help others. Even the most difficult situations can change with time. "We must continue, my daughter," her father, the king, said, "despite the unfortunate circumstances we faced." He emphasized that giving up hope would mean losing everything before truly living. After the king revealed the painful story of how Princess Adanne's body odor was a result of a curse from the beggar goddess Queen Isamba, Adanne sat silently, staring at her trembling hands. It was hard for her to believe what she had just heard. She realized that as a spoiled young girl, she had been unkind due to her lack of understanding about poverty. Now, she was cursed to have this odor problem forever, no matter how hard she tried to fix it. Odor felt as though something inside her had broken when she understood that one mistake she made as a child had led to a life of pain and loneliness. Overwhelmed with grief and despair, she cried heavily, feeling incredibly alone and hopeless. She managed to say a tearful thank you to her father before running out of his chambers, crying so much that she couldn't see or hear her father calling after her. Adanne hurried through the dark stone corridors, trying to make as little noise as possible to avoid waking up the people in the palace. She ran until she reached her small hut at the edge of the grounds, where she collapsed onto her sleeping mat and succumbed to her overwhelming grief and despair. She cried hard, blaming herself and feeling sorry for herself, until she fell asleep from exhaustion. The next morning, as the sun began to rise, Adanne woke up feeling momentarily confused, forgetting the torment of the previous day. However, reality quickly hit her, and she desperately wanted to talk to her beloved Odor, the only person who had stood by her despite her frequent smell problems. Odor fully accepted Adanne, unlike everyone else. But how could Adanne face him now, knowing that she could never marry him without subjecting him to a life of mockery and humiliation from the villagers? Feeling hopeless and wanting to spare the man who loved her, Adanne decided to distance herself from Odor. She knew it would break her already fragile heart to lose his constant support and love. She cried bitter tears as she prepared for this and then made her way to the secluded grove in the woods where she secretly met the charming drummer boy every afternoon. When Adanne arrived and saw Odor eagerly waiting with a delighted smile, his happiness almost made her reconsider her decision. Holding back tears and speaking with a shaky voice, Adanne quickly explained her situation, her voice trembling with emotion. Odor listened silently to Adanne's painful words, his face showing deep concern. When she finished, his smile faded, replaced by sympathy. He reached out and gently held Adanne's trembling hand. "My dear princess, you were just a child back then. You couldn't have known," Odor said softly. Adanne cried even harder, but Odor continued, "Can't you see? You're not a bad person. Can't you see that I love you for who you are, flaws and all? I'll proudly stand by your side if you let me." Adanne let out a shaky breath, feeling relieved and grateful that Odor still loved her, even knowing about her past mistakes. She whispered with uncertainty, "But doesn't it bother you that I am cursed and everyone avoids me?" Odor gently placed a finger over her lips and assured her, "I choose willingly, with no illusions. Any difficulties will be something we face together." He pulled Adanne close again, and she felt tired but suddenly hopeful, embraced in unconditional love. No more words were needed in their special quiet sanctuary in the grove. Princess Adanne simply snuggled into Odor's strong embrace, finally at peace with her revealed past. She let go of her worries, allowing them to drift away on the soft forest breeze that surrounded the devoted pair. In the happy weeks that followed, as Princess Adanne shared her cursed condition with Odor, the two lovers became even closer and happier together. They found comfort, trust, and understanding in each other's company, and their bond grew stronger. One breezy afternoon, as Odor walked home after another wonderful meeting with Adanne, he realized it was time to talk to his father about wanting to marry the princess. Although Odor anticipated potential objections from his father due to Adanne's curse, which caused her to have a bad smell, he hoped to appeal to his father's kind side and gain his blessing. Odor deeply loved Adanne, despite the struggles she faced, and he was confident in his feelings for her. When Odor returned home, he found his father, Chief Yuzo, the respected healer and elder of the village, busy making potions at the wooden table. Odor took a deep breath and asked his father if they could talk about Princess Adanne. Chief Yuzo looked up in surprise but gestured for Odor to continue as he went back to crushing herbs. Odor spoke earnestly, expressing his love and care for Adanne and asking for his father's blessing to marry her. Chief Yuzo remained silent for a thoughtful moment before responding gently. He questioned Odor about Adanne's royal background and whether he could provide for someone who grew up in such privilege. Oren passionately explained that Adanne's curse and scandal had forced her out of the court, and what he saw in her was her beautiful soul. He promised to stand by her side through everything. Chief Uzo smiled approvingly and gave his blessing for their marriage, believing that true love could conquer all. Later, as Oren explained Adanne's curse to his father, Chief Uzo's eyes lit up with inspiration. He wondered if he could lift Adanne's curse with the guidance of the gods and ancestors. Chief Uzo eagerly asked Oren to bring Adanne to him at the next village market, where he planned to perform a cleansing ritual to break the curse. Oren felt relieved and hopeful, thanking his father warmly for his blessing. He hurried back to Adanne to share the joyful news that Chief Uzo agreed to their marriage and might be able to lift her curse. Oren prayed that his father's skills would succeed where others had failed, freeing Adanne from her suffering. On the sunny morning of the village market, Oren went to meet Adanne at their usual spot in the shaded glen. His spirits were high with hope after his father's promise to perform a cleansing ritual. As he arrived, he was awestruck by the sight of the beautiful princess waiting for him. Adanne greeted him with a radiant smile and a tender kiss, filling his heart with joy. After catching up on their time apart, Oren took Adanne's hands and shared the wonderful news about his conversation with Chief Uzo. He explained that his father not only agreed to their marriage but also believed that his special healing skills might free her from the curse. Adanne listened carefully, her eyes filled with cautious hope. She felt a mix of joy and disbelief, a glimmer of hope breaking through her resignation. Oren assured her of his father's abilities and favor with the ancient gods. Adanne let out a sigh of hope, and they decided to tell King Chuka, Adanne's father, about this ray of hope. The king listened solemnly but expressed his worries and doubts. However, he gave his blessing, acknowledging that if Chief Uzo could spark even a glimmer of hope in Adanne's eyes, he wouldn't object. Adanne and Oren barely slept that night, filled with delicate anticipation. Several days later, on the morning of the bustling village market, large crowds gathered along the riverbanks. News of the significant cleansing ritual for Princess Adanne, conducted by Chief Uzo, had spread quickly and attracted many people. Representatives of the townspeople and merchants from the surrounding kingdoms made a journey to witness the ceremony. Many brought sick relatives or friends, hoping to benefit from Chief Uzo's legendary talents. Kings and high priests from recognizable kingdoms, dressed in gleaming robes of status, also attended with great interest, despite their failed attempts to lift Adanne's curse over the years. They came to observe the colorful female dancers with shell-adorned anklets and the assembled royal drummers, ready to perform sacred beats invoking divine spirit powers. Even Princess Adanne's parents, Queen and King Chuka, quietly joined the gathered crowd. Chief Uzo appeared wearing a majestic feathered crown representing his ancestral authority and leopard print clothing, symbolizing his command of ancient mystic forces. He emerged slowly from the forest fringe by the river, surrounded respectfully by a group of muscular, bare-chested warrior guards painted with sacred white ochre clay designs. They carried jars of purified water from the river and baskets filled with ritual elements such as powders made from rare rainforest roots, exotic bird feathers, elephant hide bracelets, and curved tusks from legendary sea beasts. Princess Adanne sat gracefully beside him on a woven reed mat, wearing a soft ivory gown, but her eyes betrayed her anxiety. Oren knelt behind her, holding her shoulders firmly, providing her with warmth and comfort in the face of uncertainty and past disappointments. Before numerous councils of mystics, just beyond, King Chuka stood protectively with his advisors, who had come to witness any miracle for themselves. Soon, the steady beat of high drums filled the air, signaling everyone to gather. Chief Uzo's strong voice echoed across the area, blessing the children and explaining the purpose of the sacred river ceremony. He looked directly at Princess Adanne, his gaze intense with faith and reverence, promising to use every power granted to him by the Creator to help her. In response to his words, the drummers began a complex accelerating beat, and the dancers started their spirited routine, their bracelets jingling. Everyone watched eagerly as the tense scene unfolded at the shoreline, filled with fervent hopes. A tense silence fell over the crowd as Chief Yuzo lifted his staff towards the sky, seeking divine intervention. All eyes were fixed on him as he lit herbs in a bowl, filling the air with a strange, sweet-smelling smoke. Then, Chief Yuzo began a dance, following ancient traditions passed down through generations. His chant, spoken in an ancient language, seemed to echo through the air, sending shivers down the spines of many. The sounds of the forest faded away, paying respect to the ceremony. Princess Adanne closed her eyes, overwhelmed by memories from her past, particularly memories of a beggar child she had once rejected and the harsh words she had spoken without remorse. Meanwhile, the other kings observed Chief Yuzo's actions with solemn approval, while Adanne struggled to control her emotions. After an hour of intense ritual, Chief Yuzo grew weary, examining the bones and shells scattered on the ground for signs from the spirits. Unfortunately, the signs remained unclear and unfavorable. Disappointment rippled through the crowd as Chief Yuzo prepared to make a second plea. This time, an assistant drew a small amount of blood from Adanne's wrist as an offering. Yet, despite their efforts, the ritual was unsuccessful. As the morning progressed, Chief Yuzo continued to pour all his energy into a third and fourth dance, sprinkling rare purple powders over Adanne's kneeling form. However, despite his heartfelt efforts, the crowd grew increasingly doubtful and restless. Some began to grumble, accusing Yuzo of being a fraud. Adanne fought back tears, feeling the familiar sting of disappointment, while Orin held her close, offering words of comfort and glaring at the hecklers. Even the dignitaries shook their heads in disbelief, unsure of what to do until the ceremony was over. Only King Chuka remained, holding on to hope that the situation would somehow change. Meanwhile, Chief Yuzo felt exhausted and confused. His methods, which had always succeeded in the past, were failing him now. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Yuzo drank some water brought by young Orin and appealed to the ancestors for guidance. He realized that only love could overcome the cruelty of the curse. With newfound understanding, Yuzo decided to approach the situation with raw humanity, rather than relying solely on official rituals. He took off his fancy clothes and went to Adanne, who was sad and tired, and held her hands tightly, looking into her eyes with seriousness as he spoke in a loud voice. Instead of performing fancy dances, Chief Yuzo surprised everyone by kneeling on the muddy ground with his head bowed and hands together. He called out to Queen Aisuma in the sky, speaking from his heart as he humbly begged for mercy for Princess Adanne. The crowd anxiously waited for a miracle, and suddenly strong winds rose from the calm waters, swirling around the ritual site. Ancestor spirits appeared above the river, followed by the radiant presence of the goddess Aisuma. She acknowledged Chief Yuzo's devotion and spoke kindly, saying she would lift the curse she had unfairly placed many years ago. With a gentle smile, the goddess transformed back into a humble peasant before disappearing. The crowd celebrated the merciful actions of the goddess, but amidst the commotion, Princess Adanne collapsed. She was quickly taken to Chief Yuzo's dwelling for recovery, while outside, the crowds dispersed. After a day and night of deep slumber, Princess Adanne woke up, realizing the curse had been lifted. She cried tears of joy, grateful for the miracle. Chief Yuzo's ritual had freed her from the curse, allowing her to embrace a future filled with love and acceptance. 6 months later, Princess Adanne and Arinza were deeply in love and making plans to marry. Both families supported them, and they approached King Chukwuemeka to ask for Princess Adanne's hand in marriage. The king happily agreed, and on their special day, everyone gathered to celebrate their union. Over the next few months, Orin worked hard to save money for their wedding, taking on extra jobs. However, Their happiness was disrupted when Prince Ukendo of the Okanga kingdom arrived unexpectedly, declaring his love for Princess Adanne and vowing not to marry anyone else if he couldn't have her. He showered her with expensive gifts and sought to win her heart. Troubling rumors quickly spread among the Orini people. They said that the respected prince had intentions of marrying Adanne and making her his queen. It appeared that Adanne was considering his advances and accepting his extravagant presents. Orin felt a deep sadness and worry. He had stood by Adanne during her most difficult times, but now this wealthy prince threatened to take her away with his material possessions. Feeling heartbroken, Arinza hurried to meet Adanne at their secret spot in the forest. He needed to know if she planned to leave him for the prince. Adanne could see his concern before he even spoke, and she reached out to hold his hand. "My love, please don't doubt my feelings for you just because a prince is trying to impress me," Adanne pleaded. "What we share is more important than material things. Prince Ukendo might have wealth and status to offer, but the happiness I feel just being with you, watching chickens pecking in the village, is priceless." Orin blinked away tears of gratitude at her heartfelt words. Princess Adanne came close and kissed his cheek. Gently, "There's no one else for me but you, my once humble drummer boy who has become so much more, the rhythm of my heart," she assured him. "Don't worry about Prince Ukendo's pursuit. I'll handle it gently in time." Completely reassured by Princess Adanne's words, Arinza left their meeting in the forest feeling much better. He went back to work happily, earning money for their wedding celebration. Meanwhile, Prince Ukendo continued tirelessly in his attempts to make Princess Adanne his bride. Used to getting his way, the spoiled young royal couldn't accept Adanne's polite refusals. Instead, he kept showing up unannounced, pleading with increasing intensity. One morning, while Princess Adanne was taking a relaxed walk with her guards, Prince Ukendo managed to intercept them. He looked pleased and joined the princess on her walk. As they strolled through the countryside, Prince Ukendo started speaking smoothly, praising Orin for helping to lift Adanne's curse, which even the best healers couldn't do. "Princess, surely after that drummer's help in freeing you from the curse, you must agree that only a prince like me would make a suitable husband," Ukendo said arrogantly. Adanne was about to argue back, but the prince continued smoothly. "Imagine, I would treat Orin with so much kindness and favor for what he did. I could give him unimaginable riches. I would build a huge mansion for Orin's family, with servants to help them with everything. Your former love wouldn't have to do any more hard work. Please, Princess Adanne, consider this offer and tell Orin about it. At least do me the honor of taking this offer to Orin for consideration." Although Princess Adanne felt bothered by Prince Ukendo's entitled behavior and false generosity towards Orin, she reluctantly agreed to share the prince's message with Orin. Later that day, when they were supposed to meet secretly among the trees and vines, she realized that this could be a great opportunity for her to become the ruler and a proud princess of the entire kingdom if Prince Ukendo ascended the throne. Recognizing that it would be difficult for any woman to reject such an offer, she decided to offer Orin's money, the offer that Prince Ukendo made, and marry the prince. Princess Adanne couldn't ignore the appeal of Ukendo's proposal. That night, she went to bed early, claiming to have a mild headache. In reality, her mind was consumed by thoughts about Prince Ukendo's proposal. By offering Orin immense wealth, she compared the two men and concluded that being a queen was the best choice. Tears of frustration streamed down her face. After enduring her curse and feeling eternally isolated for so long, she now had two suitors vying for her hand when she had little hope before. On one hand, her heart was drawn to Orin, who had been humble yet unwaveringly loyal. He had uplifted Adanne's spirit through countless rejections. Together, they had built a genuine connection and offered each other understanding and support during difficult times. No amount of wealth or nobility could outweigh Orin's steadfast loyalty and his ability to see the true essence of who Odor was beyond her curse. Adanne finally fell asleep, her mind filled with turmoil. The next morning, Arinze happily whistled as he went to the grove where he and Adanne usually met. He laid out a blanket and unpacked sweet berry tarts and spiced tea that he had made just for her. Odor hummed contentedly as he waited for Adanne to arrive. But as the sun rose higher in the sky, there was still no sign of the princess. Odor's excitement turned into disappointment mixed with worry. In all the times, troubling rumors quickly circulated among the Orani people, conveying that the respected prince had expressed a desire to marry Adanne and make her his queen. It appeared that Adanne was contemplating his advances and considering accepting his extravagant presents. Odor felt a combination of sadness and worry. He had been a supportive presence for Adanne during her most challenging moments, but now this wealthy prince posed a threat to their relationship by attempting to win her over with his riches. Arinze, feeling heartbroken, hurried to meet Adanne in their secluded forest spot, needing to ascertain whether she intended to leave him for the prince. Even before he spoke, Adanne could perceive his concern and reached out to hold his hand. "My love, please don't doubt my feelings for you just because a prince is trying to impress me," Adanne pleaded. "What we share is more important than material possessions. Prince Ukendo might offer wealth and high status, but the happiness I experience when I'm with you, even just watching the chickens peck in the village, is priceless." Odor blinked away tears of gratitude upon hearing her heartfelt words. Princess Adanne drew near and kissed his cheek. Gently, she reassured him, "There's no one else for me but you, my once humble drummer boy who has become so much more, the rhythm of my heart. Don't worry about Prince Ukendo's pursuit. I'll handle it delicately in due time." Completely reassured by Princess Adanne's words, Arinze left their meeting in the forest feeling much better. He returned to work happily, earning money for their wedding celebration. Meanwhile, Prince Ukendo persisted tirelessly in his attempts to make Princess Adanne his bride. Accustomed to getting his way, the spoiled young royal couldn't accept Adanne's polite refusals. Instead, he continued showing up unannounced, pleading with growing intensity. One morning, while Princess Adanne was taking a leisurely walk with her guards, Prince Ukendo managed to intercept them. He appeared pleased and joined the princess on her stroll. As they walked through the countryside, Prince Ukendo spoke smoothly, praising Odor for his role in lifting Adanne's curse, which even the most skilled healers had failed to do. "Princess, surely after that drummer's assistance in freeing you from the curse, you must agree that only a prince like me would be a suitable husband," Ukendo arrogantly stated. Adanne was about to argue back, but the prince continued in a suave manner. "Imagine how kindly and favorably I would treat Odor for what he did. I could bestow unimaginable riches upon him. I would construct a grand mansion for Odor's family, complete with servants to assist them with everything. Your former love would no longer have to toil. Please, Princess Adanne, consider this offer and relay it to Odor for his consideration." Although Princess Adanne felt bothered by Prince Ukendo's entitled behavior and insincere generosity toward Odor, she reluctantly agreed to share the prince's message with him. Later that day, during their planned secret rendezvous among the trees and vines, she realized that this could be a remarkable opportunity for her to become the ruler and a proud princess of the entire kingdom if Prince Ukendo ascended to the throne. Recognizing the difficulty any woman would face in rejecting such an offer, she decided to inform Odor about the wealth that Ukendo had proposed and marry the prince. Princess Adanne couldn't ignore the appeal of Ukendo's proposal. That night, she went to bed early, claiming to have a mild headache. In reality, her mind was consumed by thoughts about Prince Ukendo's proposal. By offering Odor immense wealth, she compared the two men and concluded that becoming a queen was the best choice. Tears of frustration streamed down her face. After enduring her curse and feeling eternally isolated for so long, she now had two suitors vying for her hand when she had little hope before. On one hand, her heart gravitated toward Odor, who had been humble yet unwaveringly loyal. He had uplifted Adanne's spirits through countless rejections. Together, They had formed a genuine connection and provided each other with understanding and support during trying times. No amount of wealth or nobility could outweigh Oren's steadfast loyalty and his ability to see the true essence of Adanne beyond her curse. Adanne eventually fell asleep, her mind filled with turmoil. The following morning, Arinze happily whistled as he made his way to the grove where he and Adanne usually met. He laid out a blanket and unpacked sweet berry tarts and spiced tea that he had prepared specifically for her. Oren hummed contentedly as he waited for Adanne's arrival. However, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, there was still no sign of the princess. Oren's excitement gradually transformed into disappointment mixed with worry. Oren returned home the next day, arriving at the usual forest spot earlier than usual in hopes of finding Princess Adanne there and seeing her smile again. However, once again, Princess Adanne did not show up, and there was no explanation for her absence. Oren started feeling increasingly worried in the following days as the princess continued to be absent. Meanwhile, Princess Adanne walked through the palace halls, feeling trapped and confused. She struggled with the recent conversation she had with Prince Ukendo and realized she needed to make a difficult decision before Arinze returned. She didn't want him to think that she had heartlessly left him without a word. One rainy afternoon, with a heavy heart, Princess Adanne made her decision. She spent hours alone, contemplating, and then went to her father, King Chuka, sadly informing him that she agreed to marry Prince Ukendo. She explained that she made this choice to maintain the royalty in her lineage and ensure the well-being of Oren and his family, who would receive gifts and money. The king, feeling sad for his daughter, understood the weight of her responsibilities and comforted her as she shared the story of Prince Ukendo's persistent pursuit and promises of prosperity. He acknowledged the pain of seeing Adanne give up her hopes for reciprocal love but suggested that she be patient and wait for destiny to set things right. Adanne, feeling confused, returned to her room to grapple with her decision. Despite the difficulty, she decided to go ahead with her plans to offer Oren money for his past help in removing her curse. She accepted the reality that she would marry Prince Ukendo and become queen, even if it meant sacrificing the possibility of being with Oren. The next morning, Princess Adanne, dressed in simple clothes, made her way to their special spot in the forest. Oren was already waiting there, his eyes closed with a hopeful smile. Adanne felt a pang of sadness as she realized she had to break his heart with the news. She approached him quietly, knelt on the picnic blanket they had woven together, and began to explain everything that had happened. She shared how Prince Ukendo had approached her, insisting on marrying her and offering riches for Oren's family. She confessed her struggle between following her heart and feeling obligated to consider the offer due to Oren's sacrifices. Adanne expressed her desire for what's best for Oren and his family and her decision to marry the prince. She believed it was a significant opportunity for her and hoped Oren would understand and start a new life or find happiness with one of her sisters. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos.